Hello, and welcome to another edition of the A Ball and All podcast. This is your number one NBA podcast and show live on YouTube. We're also on Anchor Podcasts. But most importantly, please do subscribe to the channel, the Ball and All channel on YouTube, as well as follow me on Instagram and on I nearly said Facebook. On Twitter, we're no longer on that platform. We never were. We never will be. But this week, it's NBA training camps have started. I will got NBA content ready for you guys starting from next week. Just trying to get through the WNBA playoffs, which is what the show is all about. It's a WNBA playoff recap. We've now started with the semifinals. We will have 2 games have been played on either side of each semifinal, and we're now going to be unpacking what we're seeing on the floor, what's been happening, and how this thing will go through towards the end. Both playoffs, and let me just give you the playoff picture right now. Both semifinals are currently at 1-1. Both the away teams having stolen a game and now ready to go home to try and defend home court, and on top of that, outright win and move over into the next one, whereas obviously the higher seeds will be hoping to steal one and take it to a game 5, which is I think what we all want, game 5 of both semifinals to go through, because they're very good basketball that has been on show. One other thing regarding the awards, Kelsey Plum won 6th Woman of the Year, really well deserved. Jonquel Jones won MVP. Kurt Miller of the Connecticut Sun won Coach of the Year. They went 14-0 to close out the season, so that was really well deserved. They broke the franchise record of 26 wins in a 32-game season. That says a lot. And then Brianna Jones won Most Improved Player of the Year. So Connecticut just winning everything. They're packed in that defensive team. They're also winning it out, and then obviously now starting to see other teams get some recognition. Well, as an Aces follower, I'm a little bit happy that Kelsey Plum won, but we'll talk about Kelsey a little bit more as we go through. Let's go through that first semifinal. It's in the East Coast, Connecticut Sun versus Chicago Sky. It's actually very cool that you've got like an East matchup and a West matchup instead of people traveling across the country. So that's pretty cool to see. The Sun versus the Sky, the battle in the East. You could call it the battle in the atmosphere, because the Sun and the Sky are all up there in the universe and the atmosphere. Yes, really, really good. The first games of these types of playoffs, especially with the WNBA, the team that's come through the first and second round will always have the edge, because they are a lot more battle ready. They've already gone through 2 games. So the Sky went through the Liberty. They also went through the Dallas Wings. They also went through it was in Seattle. They went through now I'm forgetting who they didn't go, who they went through. They went through the Lynx. That's who they went through, the Lynx. And so now they were much better ready, and that's what happened in game 1. You saw a Sky team that was already battle hard, and they were already fit and ready to go, as another team had a lot of rest. So they're a little bit rusty, but MVP Jonquel Jones still managed 25 points. What happened in that game was that it went to a double overtime. It shows you how good both teams are. It was a really great defensive matchup. I loved watching it. I loved watching the front courts of both teams going up against each other. Jonquel kind of came through with that one, but it was the backcourt mismatch that kind of blew out game 1. Even in the double overtime at the end, Courtney Vandersloot came through. Kalia Copper came through to try and push the game away from the Connecticut Sun. It did go to double overtime, but it went down to some really good clutch shots in the end from Vandersloot to try and get them over the line. She was really good. Whenever she got the ball, she tried to push the paint, to push the ball. The tempo was very high, and to a certain extent, she got a second triple-double in WNBA playoff history. Cheryl Swoops got the first one, but also she broke another record, Sue Bird's assist record in a playoff game. Sue Bird's record was 16. Courtney Vandersloot got 18. And that was really good. Good to watch, good to see, really, really awesome. Come to game 2. You now have a team that is playing 4 games in 8 days. And the last game was a double overtime thriller, where now you have another team that's now gotten their sea legs and they're ready to go. The defense is now starting to set itself really well. And that's what happened today. Connecticut Sun showed how good they were. Kurt Miller, before the Game one spoke about how they needed to keep the Chicago Sky under 80 points because they've noticed that they've won all their games where they've scored over 80 points, and they've only won one of their games where they've scored under 80. So that was the key number for the Chicago Sky. For the Connecticut Sun to deny the Chicago Sky. They managed to do that. It was 69-79 win against the Chicago Sky in game two that happened earlier this morning. That was a really good game to see from a defensive presence. But what was more intriguing was that Connecticut managed to do this without Jonquel Jones's offensive ability. She kept them being taken out in big moments in the game. Chicago started with an 11-0 run that was bested by a it was a 21 8 run that kind of equaled them out towards the first quarter. But in that period, the first timeout, Jonquel was taken out and she was only seen back end of the second quarter. She really did struggle today from an offensive perspective, but everyone else around them came through. Alyssa Thomas, 15 points, 12 rebounds. She kept them in the game. When that 11-0 run happened, she was the one who came through with the threes. She came with some clutch threes. She kept them playing through, and that was really good to see them bringing through. Brianna Jones, most improved player, had a massive game today. Really good game in the paint. But what was more impressive today was the backcourt defense of this Connecticut Sun came through. Now you understand why 4 of the starting 5 are in the all defensive teams because of what they did today. They closed down Vandersloot. They slowed them down. They couldn't get an open shot. Kalia Copper couldn't get an open shot. They weren't shooting as well from 3. I think they shot 50% from 3 in the first game. This time it was 26%. That's how good the Connecticut Sun defense was going through. And to a certain extent, they kept them under 69. Candace Parker couldn't do much. There was no player who scored, I think, more than 15 points in that Chicago Sky team. That doesn't win you a playoff game in this thing. And so that was something that was really, really important to see. Really good game. It was an Alyssa Thomas. If you had to give a playoff game to every player, to a player, this was an Alyssa Thomas playoff game. She came through. Kurt Miller spoke about how she always comes through in one of the playoff games. This was that one. Letitia Heidemann off the bench really did really well. She really added the energy, and that's what Connecticut were missing on in the first game on defense. They were missing energy. They're missing that person who was able to suffocate the ball. What they would do, and this was quite interesting, is that they'd allow the Vandersloots to come and drive inside. But this time, in game one, everyone was going through. In game two, they would smother them. So they protected the paint really well. They locked down on D. So whenever somebody got into the paint, they closed them down, tried to push them wide. And when they do those long arms, it's the land of trees there. Deanna Bonner, Brianna Thomas, Brianna Jones. You've also got Jonquel Jones, very long arms. You've also got Beatrice Bonpremier, very long arms, easy to get steals. But this game also went down in the fourth quarter. Chicago tried to come back. This is the key thing. They out-rebounded Chicago on their own board, on Chicago's own boards. In the final quarter, they lost by 10 points, 11 points. What happened was they lost. They had 10 second chance points. Connecticut had 10 second chance points in that fourth quarter. That is unforgivable. Chicago rebounded much better in the first game. This time, out-rebounded defensively, offensively, they were just taken out. And those second chance points was what killed the game for Chicago. They were still in it. It was very close. And this is what this game is going to be. It's a heavyweight contest. So they're just going to trading blows. And they were trading blows all throughout last night. And even in the first game. And it's going to continue like that. And whoever dominates the rebounding game will most likely win this. That's how intriguing this is. If Chicago gets more defensive rebounds, they can turn the transition game off the misses. If they can get offensive rebounds on the other end, they keep Connecticut in their own half and prevent the transition game from coming through. Or else Connecticut needs to, if they control their boards, they control the pace of the game. That's how important this battle is, this rebound battle is. So that's why I'm loving this one. It's going to go down to the wire. Still think the Sun will pull through, but a sneaky suspicion is that the Sky at home can be a nightmare from the backcourt. Kalia Copper, Vandersloot, Quigley, shooting threes at will. That's what you want to see all the time. and Diamond Shields. Mustn't forget about Diamond Shields. So that's something to watch when they go back to Chicago on Sunday, 3 p.m. 3 p.m., 9 p.m. South African time, and then after the first games at noon as well. So that's something that needs to be watched. The next game, West Coast battle, two best teams in the West Coast coming up against each other. Near Seattle Storm fans, I'm sorry, but yeah, you got taken out by the Mercury. Mercury have a big three. That's where they live and die. That's where, if they're not firing, it's not going to happen. Game one, even though they were the more fitter team, Vegas were the more well-rested team, and Vegas having that massive, not loss, she played. Liz Cambage not playing all fully and not being fully fit kind of edged it to Phoenix in game one. But the Aces came through. Kelsey Plum off the bench, playing incredible basketball. Phoenix came through. They were scoring well. Aces needed an answer. They got it in Raquina Williams. Raquina Williams ended up with 26 points in that game. Kelsey Plum with 25. Chelsea Gray with 17 points. That's what the Aces are. They've got 7 players that can score big on any night. And the problem about that is sometimes they don't score on any night. They all don't score, and that becomes a big issue. Because you need about 2 or 3 of them to come through to match that big three. Because that big three, Grana's going to get you 20 plus points. Skylar Diggins-Smith is on a good game, 15 plus or more. Taurasi, 15 plus or more, or she could go over. But we'll talk about what she did in game 2. Game 1 was really good to see. Defensively, Phoenix weren't that great. The backcourt just missed. It was a backcourt mismatch in the favor of the Aces, which is weird because the Aces are very strong from the front court. They shot the lights out. Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, and they had easy shots in the paint that would just drive in and put it up. It was really easy. Phoenix was just allowing it. There was no energy from Phoenix, and they lost that game 96-90. Really close, but it was a really good game for the Aces. Great to go 1-up at home. Game 2, which happened yesterday, was something I don't think anybody expected, but we got to see who the true WNBA GOAT is. The WNBA career points scorer in Darren Taurasi pulled out a monster of a game at age 39 in the playoffs. He pulled out a playoff career high, 37 points in that game with 6 rebounds to go to boot. What was impressive about that is that she went 10 from 13 from the field, 8 from 11 from 3, and 9 from 9 from free throw land. She was torching Kelsey Plum whenever she had Kelsey Plum on her. We're just wondering why Bill Laimbeer didn't want to move Kelsey Plum probably to the other point guard, maybe Shea Petty. But on the other hand, Shea Petty also scored threes as well. They scored 52% from 3. So the team doesn't score quite much from threes, but they pulled it out with 52% tonight. It was really, really good. It was probably one of the reasons why they won. The mismatch in the backcourt, which you kind of expected, but it's not as big a mismatch as you would get maybe with the Sky versus the Sun, whereas obviously the Aces have got lots of players who play very well in the backcourt. Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, Raquina Williams. You've also got Kelsey Plum and Dearica Hamby who can play in that backcourt. And that's what happened today. It was just one of those games. It was a blowout. Wire win. They never let the lead slip. They never even let it slip under 10. Whenever it got to 10, they clamped up on defense. Lots of energy on offense. Skylar Diggins-Smith has been struggling at the start of these playoffs to drive, and she's the leading play. She's taken the leading free throw attempts, which means she drives in a lot and gets fouled. She did that today. Brought the energy. Taurasi had ankle issues in the first 2 games. Those ankle issues were gone today. She was just dropping it like crazy. Brittany Griner, they started double teaming her with Kia Stokes, and this is where the Liz Cambage conversation starts. Kia Stokes is the starting center for the Aces. I think that's going to change in game 3 with Liz Cambage starting. Liz has now played 24 minutes in this game. She had COVID before. She was recovering from it, getting through. If Liz Cambage starts, there's no need. And if you match Liz Cambage with Brittany Griner's minutes, there's no need for the Aces to double team Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner was waiting for the double team. Why? Because she now has figured out from the first 2 playoff games against the Storm as well as against the Liberty that if they double team you, look for your wingers, either Sophie Cunningham, Shea Petty, Diana Taurasi, Skylar Diggins-Smith. Look for somebody who can get the ball because they are free. the Aces didn't do that in game one. They did single coverage. Yes, she scored a point, and that's fine. You can give her that, give her points. But the assists and the facilitation was what killed the Aces today. The double teaming of Kia Stokes. But then it got better when Liz Cambage came in, because it was a one-on-one battle. This is the battle I was waiting for this entire series. One-on-one with Liz Cambage and Brittany Griner. And to a certain extent, yes, the Aces were behind all the time. So the plus minuses, everyone's got a negative plus minus. But Liz Cambage, of the players who've had like over 20 minutes on the court, she has the best plus minus, which is -5, which tells you that the best defensive five, even offensive five, the best 5-man rotation on that floor for the Aces has Liz Cambage on it. It's Cambage, it's AJ Wilson, it's Chelsea Gray, probably even Raquana Williams and Jackie Young. That will be their best defensive five. That's one thing that they're going to be looking to try and do going forward. From a Phoenix perspective, because it's 1-1, defend home court. Rally the valley like you did with the Suns. Defend home court. That's all they need. They need the big three to come through. If two of their big three don't arrive, it's not going to be great. It's also great to see Kia Vaughn and Shea Petty come through with 11 points. Those are the things you kind of want to see coming through. The bench hasn't been exploding like it did in the earlier rounds of the playoffs. Sophie Cunningham's now starting to miss, but Shea Petty's now starting to score. So it's a little bit easier for them there. That's how it's going to work. That front court battle pretty much equalizes the teams. It's now pretty much the backcourt and the bench. Aces win the bench battle. Phoenix should win the backcourt battle. If they don't, the Aces will go through. I do see the Aces winning one of the games in Phoenix, and possibly this could also go down to be another 5-game thriller, which would be good. We want game fives. And if we get game fives, that's going to elevate the status of this league. So that's pretty much the recap of what's going on and a little bit of a preview of what's going to happen. They play on Sunday again, and they play again on Tuesday. And then if there is a game 5, it'll be the Thursday or Friday night. So do watch out for that. Really, really enjoying the basketball. Really great. So remember, you can also follow me, Twitter, Instagram, send through your comments. I do appreciate the comments on YouTube. They really help elevate the channel a little bit more, getting more subscribers, getting more views. That's what this thing is all about. This is why I started this. So please do share as widely as possible, like and subscribe. And thank you very much. That is your WNBA Playoff Recap on the Ball and All podcast. My name is Mpho. Until next time, lesale kakagiso.